we're going to turn this into this. So the start of this project, this bed cover was on a 2010 GMC Sierra. It's now on a 2021 Dodge Ram. The Dodge Ram is about 1.5 to 2 inches wider than the Sierra bed, but it's like 2 or 3 inches shorter than the Sierra bed. So when I traded my truck in, I kept this because it's $1,000 and they're not going to give you anything extra for your truck with the bed cover on it. When you go buy the truck, they're going to charge you extra because it has a bed cover, but that's about it. So I figured I could recycle it, and if I couldn't recycle it and make it work, hey, you know, I lost an old bed cover. Yeah, it's $1,000 cover, but I had it for what, 10, 11 years or 12 years. So, you know, if I was to sell it, I'd get a couple of $100 for it. So it would be a good investment for me to put $100, $200 into it, save myself $1,000 and get a nice bed cover. So what I did is get 1.5 by 1.5 inch angle aluminum. It's a 1/16 inch thick, and the theory is this is your factory piece, and this is what rides on your bed rail. Well, obviously it's not long enough because my bed cover is too skinny. So I needed to extend it, and this is what I did. So now the aluminum is my extension, which will sit on the bed, and I can adjust it appropriately and have a cover that, you know, is functional and fits. So the first thing I did was take the rail, the factory rail, put it up against the edge, measure it, and cut it to length. After that, I took this angle aluminum and I clamped these together, and I drilled, I think I put six holes, and I riveted it together with aluminum rivets. So since the bed is wider this way, and now this is going to be sitting on the bed, you had to put shims. So here's the rest of the process on what I went through. So this is a completed rail, okay? Yeah, my original one's a little torn up here and there, but it's still good. You can see I have the new piece riveted every so often. So it's like 18 to 19 inches, depending on yours. And we're just going to fit it right in the bed. So I'm just going to grab a clamp to kind of hold this in place while I grab the other rail, clamp it, so I can put the bed liner on top, and these have to get slid out. So because it's this is wider than the factory. Okay, so I got this cover all fitted on the sides. It fits really nice. So at the front, I ended up using 3/4 inch shims on both sides, 1/2 inch in the middle. Down here, there were no shims. Now, I just need to climb inside and mark where this tailgate is going to get cut. Then figure out how to disassemble this end. The locking mechanism is easy. That just screws on. I just need to work out how to pry off the trim. It's probably all glued together. Then cut the metal and then put it back on. So that's my next step. So I have my top lid marked. I'm going to take the whole setup off. I'm going to leave the rails on, and I'm going to put it in the garage. I'm going to use a Dremel with a cutoff wheel to cut it. It's just really thin aluminum, and then I can mark out my corners because they're kind of offset. Then I have to figure out how to get the metal apart from each other. It's all glued together, so it's just going to be a little time consuming, and then we glue it back. There was a few screws in there holding things together, and that's it. So for this project, if you're not good with tools handy, thinking outside the box, don't attempt this. But if you have time and you're not worried about tearing up your old top, hey, go for it. It's always a good experience to try, make it work, and let me get to cutting and we'll be right back. So if you are working on a backflip, to take off the side rails, just use a little pry bar, put it near the end. Now this is the piece I'm throwing away, so I don't care if I damaged it. Put it in there, give it a couple of good whacks, and it pops right off. There are two really small screws holding it on. Those screws are located on the top side, but they're glued under the factory gasket. Now that factory gasket has some tough glue. To try to take the gasket off, to find out if there may or may not be a screw or something holding it together is not worth the time. So just pop it out and do away with the screws. We can cut them off and actually probably slide them back on because I probably ripped the aluminum on the other side. I'm going to put the pieces back together. I'm not going to glue them in until I'm sure that I've got the right length. Because if I have to trim another 1/4 of an inch off, I don't want to have that all glued together. So hey, this is the end piece that got cut off. Here's the end flap that would go over your tailgate. It's a insulated core construction. The metal's about 1/16 of an inch or less. So now we just have to get this metal unglued from in this little C channel here, and this piece we're saving on the end, this is what we're going to slide back on. So taking off the end rail from the actual metal top was a little easier than I thought. I started off with my Sawzall and I cut the aluminum foam right down the center. Then I took my knife all the way, because I figured it was glued in, and scribed both sides, pulled out one side. I used a little pry bar to stick in there and yank, and once you got it going, it kind of kept out pretty good. And now I'm just going to clean up the inside a little bit and we'll fit it. And yes, it makes a mess with foam chopped up everywhere, but it's off. So at this point, I have already cut off the top, so the length is perfect. I wiped everything down with a little acetone, and I've glued the side style back on, both sides. You can see how I rabbited out the corners to fit this piece, and as soon as this is dry, I will fit the top piece. So while the side rails are drying, I decided to put the latch mechanism on. So there was a few rivets in there. I drilled those out, and there's 3 factory screws in the center. I just put another screw here and one on this other side, and I just need to install the latch mechanism. So we'll be installing that with the factory screws, pretty much back in the factory spot, just shorter. So the latching mechanism is back on. It was nice and easy to install, you know, just take it apart and get out the rivets that are underneath and use the 3 factory screws and maybe put 2 extra small ones in there. So I have the end cap on, and all I'm doing now is I'm gluing down the gaskets that I had to undo and peel back, so it's all solid. I'm using Gorilla Glue, which is, this particular Gorilla Glue is like an E6000, so you can either buy E6000, Gorilla Glue, whatever is good for rubber and metal will do. And so it's just sitting there drying right now, and then I'm going to take the top off and the rails off, and everything is getting a fresh coat of paint. Originally I wasn't going to paint it, but it just wouldn't go good with the new truck, so we're going to give it a nice paint job. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to sand it down with some 400 grit. This is all aluminum, all right? So I got some prep spray that cleans and takes any wax or greases off. This thing's been through many car washes. And then, since it's aluminum, I decided to go with Rust-Oleum wheel, okay? I read it, no primer, just clean, sand, and we'll see how it's good, how good it is. It is matte black. So right now I'm just wiping it off with a damp rag. I was going to blow it off, but I don't want dust in the garage, so just the damp rag to get all the sandings off. Then when I'm done, and it's drying real quick anyways, it's just damp, I'll go over with the paint prep. So when you go to paint this, we just want to scuff it up. So 400 grit is perfect. You really don't want to go anything less than that. You can go more, you can go 600, but 400 is really a nice, it's, you know, doesn't leave any marks, but it scuffs up any material, paint, and that's there. So at first I'm going to do the paint prep with just normal paper towels, because I still have some residue on there, you know, the black filings. Once I got it nice and clean, I'll hit it again with the paint prep with a microfiber towel. So I haven't read the ingredients, but I'm pretty sure there's acetone in here because it took off the paint very good. So we have it all prepped now, and I'm going to tape off all the rubber and give it a spray.
Oh, we fell apart just in time. You say at least it was worth the try. At least it was worth the try.
Okay, so we have it all taped off, ready for paint. And then that's it. I'm gonna paint the side rails, I'm not gonna show that. Put it back together, and we have a brand new tonneau cover. So now, even though I did a good prep on it, a sand and a wipe down and a decent tape job, I am not a body guy. I'm just a backyard guy trying to paint a tonneau cover. So if you're a professional painter, hey, give me some hints. But we're gonna go for it. It can't look any worse than it did, right? And we're saving over $1,000 by reusing this. So hey, we are done. It came out nice. It looks brand new, fits beautiful. It should be mostly watertight. I'm not really too concerned about that. I just want a secure area to put some things, bigger items if I leave the truck or whatever. Also give the truck a nice look. And I saved literally $1,000 doing this project. My list of stuff, I did paint it. Painting it is optional. You don't have to paint yours. I spent about $40 in paint. I had painter's tape, so no cost. My aluminum rails were about 75 bucks. I did have to buy some new clamps. Nothing was wrong with my old clamps. I lost a couple, so I just bought new clamps. I think those were $18, call it $20. So I'm probably into it for, and I bought some gasket material here. There's another $10. So let's say, worst case, I'm in for $150. So I spent $150 instead of $1,000 or $1,100 or $1,200, depending on your top and how expensive it is. The one for this truck I think is $1,100, so that's a good savings. Now it took me some time to do, some time to figure out, and I did it over the course of a week. I'd work a couple hours here, an hour there, and basically today I just spent 2 hours painting the rails. Then I went inside, let them dry, and then put it together. So all in all, I probably have 8-10 hours into the project. So 8 to 10 hours to save yourself $1,000 is well worth it. So hey, I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't give too much detail on tearing it apart because it was a learning experience for me too. But I did kind of mention and show you some of the main things you had to do. Again, this will work if your new truck that you're going to put it on is wider and longer. If the bed is the same length, that's even better, because then all you have to do is put on little angles on the side, aluminum angles, paint them and put some shims in, and you're done. I had to cut the back and figure it out. As you can see, I took off about probably 2.5, 3 inches, maybe 4 inches. I really didn't measure it because I just laid it down and marked everything by hand. So one of the things I did for the fit and finish right here was take a gasket like this. I got this at, I think, Home Depot, and it's got a profile like that. It's rigid, it's flat on the bottom, and I cut it in half. And then I ran, just put the good side out, ran it right around the corner, all the way down. It gives a really nice tight seal, and it looks really nice. So that is another thing I did that I didn't show you on camera. Hey, thank you for watching. Till next time, take care and tight lines.
At least it was one.